Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking something literally awe-inspiring. We are talking about a real-time shadow history unfolding right in front of us, operating on a scale so massive it honestly feels like a modern mythology. We're diving into an excerpt from a profound piece of analysis called The Silicon Sovereign. Now, this isn't just about the latest software update or some passing market trend. No, this is about a fundamental shift in the very blueprint of human civilization. We're exploring how the evolution of artificial intelligence is being framed not just as a tech leap, but as the next biological and economic successor to human systems.
Okay, let's dive into this. The stakes for our future are being set right now with this idea. Silicon becomes the primary architect of future economic stability and human relevance. Just pause for a second and think about the sheer weight of those words. The source text asserts that we are entering this high-stakes philosophical reality where the foundational material of our computers, silicon, literally takes over the role of designing our future. I mean, for centuries, right? Human institutions, governments, our physical labor, we were the architects of our stability. But now, the text suggests that baton is being directly passed to digital infrastructure.
Section 1. Dismantling traditional labor. So to truly grasp this cosmic shift, we've got to start at ground level. Before we can talk about global power dynamics, we have to look at how this grand narrative hits our everyday lives, and specifically our jobs. The source explicitly states that traditional labor isn't just evolving, it's facing systematic dismantling. And the catalyst driving this massive disruption, it's the relentless pursuit of artificial general intelligence, specifically driven by Sam Altman's vision. We're just impartially reporting the source's central claim here, which is that the race to achieve AGI is actively taking apart the traditional structures of human labor that have literally defined our global economy since the Industrial Revolution.
Section 2. Centralizing compute power.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because now that we understand what's happening to the individual worker, we need to zoom out. We need to look at the massive, systemic mechanism that's physically powering this transition. According to the text, this grand vision evolves in a sequence. Step 1 is the pursuit of AGI itself. But you can't just pull AGI out of thin air. It requires step 2, a massive centralization of compute power. The sheer volume of processing capability needed creates this immense physical and digital centralization. And once you have that, it triggers step 3, rewiring global economic structures. So this isn't an accident. It's a calculated chain reaction, where centralizing the hardware inevitably leads to the centralization of global power.
Section 3. Rise of algorithmic sovereignty.
So the crucial point is, we're hitting a dense, honestly quite intimidating concept: algorithmic sovereignty. Here is where the energy of this explainer escalates to a really wondrous macro-level scale. We're moving out of hardware and into what can only be described as a geopolitical mythological quest. The source argues that by centralizing all this compute power, we are actually replacing traditional geopolitical borders. Sovereignty, which historically meant a government's absolute power over a physical piece of land, is completely transforming. It's becoming this new form of dominion, ruled entirely by algorithms and the massive servers that house them.
Think about it. For all of recorded history, power has been defined by geopolitical borders, right? Lines drawn on a map, defended by armies, dictating laws purely on geography. But the text proposes that this old world structure is being fundamentally replaced. The new rule of law is algorithmic sovereignty. In this paradigm, silicon logic totally supersedes historical land borders. These new empires aren't built on physical territory at all. They are built on centralized compute power. It is absolutely a staggering reimagination of how the world is governed.
Section 4. Reconfiguring global wealth. Now, if borders and governments are being superseded by algorithmic dominion, we really have to look at the direct, high-stakes result of this newly centralized power. Because this is why it matters directly to you, and, well, to everyone watching. The text explicitly warns of a radical transition reconfiguring the global hierarchy of wealth. When traditional labor is dismantled, the old ways of earning and distributing money just vanish. And when borders are replaced by algorithmic sovereignty, the old systems of taxing and regulating that wealth disappear right along with them. Ultimately, this grand narrative is rewiring who holds economic stability on a global scale. Wealth isn't just trickling up. The entire hierarchy is being systematically reconfigured around the players who control the compute power.
Section 5. Rethinking human relevance. And this brilliantly illustrates the profound existential climax of this entire explainer. Just to recap this incredible micro-to-macro expansion we've been on, we are moving from the systematic dismantling of traditional labor, which is driven by the pursuit of artificial general intelligence, which then forces this massive centralization of compute power. That centralization literally replaces traditional geopolitical borders with a new algorithmic sovereignty.
ultimately leaving silicon as the primary architect of our reality. The logic flows so perfectly from the ground level all the way to a complete global transformation.
Which leaves us with this deeply memorable, ultimate philosophical inquiry. If we accept the premise of the source text, that Sam Altman's vision is dismantling labor, reconfiguring wealth, and replacing borders to make silicon the primary architects of future economic stability, then what happens to human relevance? In a world entirely governed by centralized silicon logic, where exactly do we fit in? It's a staggering question about our place in an AGI-driven era. I want you to take that question with you, ponder it, and try looking at the world around you through this new lens. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the architecture of our future.